And when I think of reborn, I think of something that was there before, but maybe it needs some oomph to come back to life, right? Reborn is not just born. It's reborn. It was there. It's like a new season maybe. You know, like when you come out of winter and spring come out with all the allergies and beautiful things, and you're like, oh, something is being reborn. The ground is rebirthing fruits, right? It could be something maybe like a different season of your life. It could be a tree. Sometimes our trees are dying, and then there's a season of reborn where they bring fruits again. They can be maybe something that you have in your house and you recycle. Anybody that believes on recycle? Well, a whole two of you, I'll see you in heaven. The rest of you, you're supposed to be recycling and look after our world. Stop printing and printing papers and killing our trees, man. I'm a tree hugger. Yes, I am. So don't leave papers lying around. Don't. Because then the South African will come. Anyway, maybe like a recycled thing that you had around, and now you just repaint it and reuse, and you rebirth, you give a new life to something that was there before. That's what it means to me. And I feel like sometimes in our Christian journey, our hope also needs to be reborn. It's not that it wasn't there before, it's just these things happen and it needs a new life, a new season. Scripture gives us language to this new season. And Hebrews 6 verse 19 says, we have this hope as an anchor for the soul. Firm and secure, it enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain. If you didn't know this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite verse. There's a couple of them because there's so many in the Bible to choose from. But this is probably in my top 3. I love this verse because I got to experience that myself. I had hope, and then at some point, I found Jesus. My faith was born through testimony. So I want to just share some part of my life so you get to understand where I'm going with the message. When I was 4 years old, we lost everything in our house to a fire. My family and I, all of us, went to a service, came back, the house was on fire, we didn't see it. My mom opened the door, the fire pushed her back, and she attempted to rescue some of the stuff. I just remember as 4 years old that she threw us on the back of the bakkie. I don't know if she physically threw us, the rush. My mom was very kind and loving. She still is. But she threw us on the back of the bakkie, and they just kind of tried to get rid of us so that we wouldn't see what was happening. So I just remember pretty much that. But I do remember that in the midst of chaos, because we lost everything, someone came and taught my brothers how to play the guitar. And that was where I found hope. Because as a 4-year-old, there's not many things that you can process. You just know that your toys are gone, your clothes are gone, your room is gone. Everything that you knew, it's gone. Except what you were wearing. Now I just knew that when we play music as a family, when we sang songs which were normally direct to Jesus, something felt lighter inside of us. And I couldn't give a language, but I knew that there was something about when we sang songs to this thing, which was God, that made my heart feel lighter. And guess what? Still does. If I'm having a tough day, the first thing that goes on is my praise and worship music. Because I know that I'm like, okay, I can sing to Jesus. That's where my faith was born. Not because I had the answers, but in Jesus' presence. That season taught me that my hope was real. So I want to remind you of this verse that we just read. Hebrews 6 verse 19. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul. I want to break down this verse for you, and we're going to start with the first line. We have this hope. This is a statement that is making sure that it's not asking, it's not wondering, there's no question mark at the end. Do we have hope? We have hope, I hope. No, it's saying we have this hope. It's a security. It's also a present tense. A lot of the things, the meaning of the word of God, we lose because of how simple the English translated. But if you go back to, as Ryan was saying, the Hebrew and the Greek and how the words were written, you will understand so much more of what Jesus was saying. So we encourage you to go and dig into the word of God. This was written in a present tense, which means that we keep on having hope. So it's pretty much like you wake up and you have this hope, and when you hit traffic, you keep on having that hope. You get to work and your boss say, we are not closing for December, and you keep on having that faith, that hope. Your boss says bonus might not happen this year. We keep on having that hope. You get told that your in-laws are coming for Christmas. Why is it like it's Christmas? This is when you love one another in Jesus, right? We keep on having this hope. We go to the doctor for a checkup and he gives us a feedback, and we keep on having this hope. It's something that is a present tense. It just keeps being there. So the question is, what or who is your hope today? We have this hope. What are you holding on to? Because if your hope is in Jesus, you are sorted. But if your hope is in yourself, you're in for a while, right? When my hope is in myself, I come short many times. When my hope is in my parents, as I did as a 4 years old, when your hope is in your parents, you're going to come short. You're going to blame them for a lot of things. And I often say, you have the right to blame your parents, probably until you're 21. After that, you're a grown-up person. Pick up your pieces. Work out yourself. You can't be 40 and still blame your parents. Come on now. Go find a therapist. You just cannot continue to blame it. But my parents, great. They did the best. I can promise you 90%, 99% of the parents will do the best that they can with what they were given. I blame my parents until I heard where they came from, what they had, the example that they follow. And then I was like, wow, good job. You actually did pretty well. I didn't end up in prison. That is like really good going. Because they had no example. They lost their parents when they were 8 and 10. They went to work when they were 11. And now I want to blame my, but you didn't heal my feelings. Like, no, get over it. Is your hope in your finances? Because December is tough. And the Christmas list keeps on going. And the, stationery, anybody with kids that you got the stationery list and you're like, really? Why you got to give me that in December? That's not nice. Can we arrange somehow to get those kind of news in October maybe? Merry Christmas, here's the stationery list. And you're like, you are so kind. Thank you so much, it's cool for that. Is your hope in your career? Because there's going to be seasons where you get stuck. Is your hope in your spouse? I used to put my hope in my spouse. Then I realized he's not Jesus. Have you realized that your spouse is not Jesus? Sometimes we hold our spouses to the highest standard and we're like, they are not Jesus. Your hope should not be in your spouse. I love my spouse. He's the best spouse that I could ever choose because I'm good like that. But my hope is not tied to him. He's not my anchor. Because otherwise, when he has a bad day, I go with his bad day. No. My hope needs to be in Jesus, and we keep on having this hope. So I show you, and I share with you when my hope was born. But later on, I felt like I had hope my whole life. I never had an easy life compared to my standards. Probably if I sit down with you, you will be like, your life is nothing. But as I say, we had very little when we were growing up. We were 7 siblings, so we always had to work hard. And I thought that's how Christianity is. You just work hard because one day you get to heaven, and heaven, it's nice. So I never thought that going through stuff or not having was really, I'm going to leave Jesus because of that. I'm not really. Someone offended you, someone hurt you, just cannot get over and help Jesus sort them out. That's just how it works. So at least that was my view. But in 2009, again, as a family, we went to something that tested that faith, that hope. In 2019, if you didn't know, because, my Afrikaans is quite delicious, so you probably didn't guess it, but I'm not from South Africa. I'm originally from Argentina. So I have constantly, since the moment that I arrived in 2007, I have constantly had issues with Home Affairs. And I'm not saying this to throw Home Affairs down. Sorry if you work for Home Affairs. My prayers go out to you. I hope that I never have to meet you in our office. No problem with meeting you in church, but in a Home Affairs office, oh my goodness, I have never prayed, cried, got angry, everything together as being on a Home Affairs office. And my husband got to experience some of that when he chose to marry me. But anyway, my visa got stuck, and we tried everything. We spoke to everyone, presidents, DA, ANC. We spoke to any political party, anyone that had a connection. We sent hundreds of emails. We tried everything. And of course, don't ask me if we prayed about it, because we did. And we fasted, and we thought, and we asked for advice. But randomly in 2019, we realized that because my visa was stuck, I couldn't go anywhere. So if anything was to happen to my family, if Jean needed to go overseas for an emergency trip, I don't know, to Mauritius or something like that, that would have never happened. I was stuck here indefinitely, forever and ever. And Home Affairs was giving us no solutions. They were like, your paper is pending. It was pending, like Microsoft Office from 2001. I don't know. But it was loading and loading and loading, and there was no hope. So we found a lawyer that dealt with cases like ours, and we prayed again, and we fasted, and we asked our friends, close friends, for advice, to thought whether this was a good idea or not, and then we went ahead and did it. So in 2003, I flew to Argentina with my 2 kids, they were 3.5 and 1 year old. They were tiny. My 1-year-old had a severe milk allergy, so I was flying with an EpiPen for every mother that stresses about life. I get you. And then we traveled. We took Home Affairs to court, and then we fought to bring me back. And when we thought that I had to rebook the ticket because Home Affairs was obviously giving us a fight for our money, literally, then we won the case, and I was able to return after 28 days away from my husband. The first time ever, because we worked together. We obviously lived together, but we have never been apart more than 1 or 2 nights. That was the first time that we were apart for 28 days. We lost so much weight. So together we make fat each other. I can see that. When we are apart, we lose a lot of weight. And we thought that that was the victory and that was the end. And meantime, when I arrived, the day that I landed in South Africa, I had my first panic attack. That just opened I was like, what is this and how do I eat it? I'm just going to go and pray. We started a season of months and years of anxiety, of depression, of therapists, of psychologists, of medication. My body just gave in. My body was like, good luck. I'm not with you. And in my mind, I'm like, this can't happen to someone that has hope. This can't happen when my hope is in Jesus. Because Jesus can fix everything. So just fix me quickly. So I don't have to panic. At that stage, I was on stage every week singing, and I just couldn't. Every time I had to get up on the stage, I would have an anxiety attack. I would stop breathing. I would forget the words. I don't know where I was going. And meantime, all I can think of is a smile because the people are watching. It didn't make sense to anyone. It didn't make sense to my husband. It didn't make sense to my family. It just didn't make sense to anyone. That's when I thought my hope was lost. But it was actually reborn. It didn't happen magically. It wasn't like I was done fasting for 21 days and then, magically, I was healed. It didn't. It didn't happen after I prayed. It didn't happen on a Sunday service when the pastor says, if you need to be healed for something, put your hand up. And I put my hand up, both hands up. I came to the front, and then I walk away to my chair with the same depression and the same anxiety. It didn't happen in an instant, but it did happen gradually. I can't pinpoint the time and the moment. I can pinpoint my last panic attack, anxiety attack, but I cannot pinpoint when was the moment that I felt like Jesus was rebirthing my hope. Again, Hebrews 6:19 says, we have this hope as the anchor for our soul, firm and secure. That's all I can hold on to. Into those seasons of dark days, into the season where the alarm goes off in the morning, you're like, I really don't want, this has nothing to do with being tired. I just really don't want to leave my bed. And I keep repeating, I have this hope. My hope is not in my feelings, it's not in my depression, it's not in my anxiety, it's not on my tears. My hope is in Jesus. And I hold on to that. What is your hope? Who is your hope? The second part of this verse says, as an anchor for the soul. Because hope functions as an anchor. You know, if you look at boats and you look at massive ships, what they need is an anchor, but not for when they are calm waters. The anchor is not there because it looks pretty. The anchor is not there for when the sea is calm. You don't need the anchor then. The anchor gets really tested when the things are going hectic. When the wind is flying from everywhere, when the things are not calm, when the things don't make sense, when the storm hits your way, and then you realize, what am I actually anchored to? Until 2019, I was anchored in the fact that I had friends. I was here in South Africa serving Jesus. I had a husband. Of course, he was going to fix it all. Just fix it. He also said that, just fix it. Just pray about it. Just feel better. I'm like, I've been trying. It just doesn't seem to work. What are you anchored to? Spurgeon says, God gives us truths that hold us steady when the winds and the currents try to move us. That was my truth. We have this anchor, firm and secure. Our God does not intend his people to be shipwrecked. If you are doing this Christianity, you're like, oh, but look at how the storms are hitting me. There's nowhere in the Bible that says to say yes to Jesus, bring no storms. But what the Bible does say is when the storms come, if you hang on to me, you can survive this storm. Hang on to something else, and I'm not so sure. If you hang on to your own resources, I can do this. I say that I can do this. My faith is strong. I'm a strong woman. I have seen worse than this. Come on now. Get yourself together. That's how I speak to myself. I don't know how you speak to yourself. But I was like, get yourself together. Stop crying, man. Seriously, it's not that bad. My anchor didn't hold. When my anchor was on my husband and hoping that he will make sense of this, my anchor didn't hold. When my anchor was in my friends and my support system, my anchor didn't hold. When my anchor was on anything else but Jesus, I went with the wind and the storm. But then I went back to, I have this hope. God does not want me to be shipwrecked, but I need my anchor to be him and nothing else. The next part of the verse is firm and secure. Our hope. If your hope is in Jesus, your hope is firm and secure. If it's in something else, I don't know. But if it's in Jesus, your hope is firm and secure. And these two words that come from Greek have like so many different meanings. But one of them is, if you stand on it, it won't break. When you hear the word firm, it means that when you put it under weight, it will not break. It will not crack. I wonder how many of us go through stuff and we put our faith and our hope to test and we start seeing cracks, and then the first thing that we do, instead of finding that hope in Jesus and holding on to him, is we go and find another church. We go and find another worship team. Because this one wasn't working. No, it goes back to your own relationship with God. We have this hope that is firm and secure. If your hope is in Jesus, no matter who stands on it or what stand on it, it will go. It will make it through. It won't crack. It won't break. It also means that hope cannot be knocked over. You know that song? I get knocked down, but I get up again. We can do that over and over if our hope is solid and is tied to the anchor that is Jesus. But if your hope is not, when you get knocked down, and you will, because life is lifing, you're going to struggle to get up, and you're going to blame it, as I did, on whatever else is going on there. And my parents didn't deal properly with my childhood thing. That's why now I'm having anxiety. Partially true, but not all true. It's my boss. They don't give me enough time off. And you see, now I'm burning out. It's my spouse and my kids. They don't pick up their weight at home. All of those things can add to it. But if my hope is secure, if it's firm, it can't be knocked over. It cannot expire. You know, all things mostly have an expiry date. And it will be good that you check it once in a while. We were cleaning this week the office, and we found something from 2016, and we're like, maybe we should get rid of that. You should check the expiry date. But when you're speaking about the promises of Jesus, they do not expire. I was given a promise from Jesus or a word from Jesus when I was around 4 or 5 years old that I will go into the world and preach. Funny, because when I came to South Africa, I wanted to run away and go back home. And God was like, I don't think so. It took years for that work to come alive. It did not expire. Some of us are like, oh, but Jesus told me last year I was going to be blessed. Keep on waiting. His word does not expire. Doesn't mean it's going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. But his promises do not expire. It just gives us so much confidence. He can hold under future, under pressure. Another meaning of firm and secure is actually a legal word. It's what you will sign on a document saying that if something happens to this hope, I can come back to you. And that's what we get to do with God. I used to go back to God and say, you told me that you will give me peace. You told me I don't need to be anxious about anything. You told me that if I seek you first, all things will be added. I want your addition. I want my health back. I want my brain back. I want my functioning back. I want my healthy heart back. Again, it didn't happen magically, but it did happen. Because his word, you can hold it legally. That's the kind of God that we serve. There's no small print. Terms and conditions apply. If he promised something, he will do it. Firm and secure. The next part, which is almost the end of the verse, says, it enters behind the veil. You know, in the old days, there was a veil in the temple, there was curtains, and those curtains were so heavy. The researchers say that it took 300 priests to put them up. We have done deco for the last 2 weeks. I can tell you that some of the stuff, I'm like, I wish that we had 100 people helping to hold this thing. Right, Craig? I mean, Craig's ladder is good, but sometimes the extra arms will be great. So next time, if we do a Christmas event, did you hear the F? It will rely on the amount of volunteers that we have. I am not putting curtains up. I have decided that next year. I'm lying because I'm probably going to do it anyway. But the point is, 300 priests to put up that veil. That veil that indicated God is here in this holy part. We are not. And that verse says that my hope, that is anchor, goes through that veil. It can enter through that veil. The interesting thing is, in the old days, the priest could only go 1 day a year into that presence. They almost did like a lucky draw. You needed to be a priest, you needed to have generational things, you needed to be clean, you needed to, like, there was a whole thing. It's not just like, okay, you. No. This was a whole year and years and years of preparation for that 1 day. When your lucky number gets drawn and they say, today is the day that you're going into the inner temple, that you were ready and you walk. 1 day a year. But Jesus died on the cross and went through that veil, to pray for you and for me daily. He doesn't come out of that space and say, okay, I'm done. Listen, I have prayed for your marriage already for like how many years? Like, let's just call it quit. No. He doesn't say, I have prayed for your health and it's been 10 years and the report can come in. He stays behind that veil. And that veil has been ripped apart so that you can enter too. You can also go and access. I don't know if you have seen, this is scene where you have kids and let me rather go with the dogs because the kids could be a sensitive one. You know when you put a leash on your dog? And they can go, but then you still control where they go? And then it depends on the length or how close, how far you want them. You can reel it back in. Okay, I'm going to take the dog image away because now you totally lost the point. Let's think about fish. You know when you're fishing and you catch a fish, you don't just leave it there, you reel it back in because of the distance, and you know that if you take too long, it's going to escape and all of that. I think sometimes we get to do that with Jesus. We have that anchor. We are anchored into that. And we get sometimes, when life gets really tough, to get closer and closer and reel myself into that hope. We don't let go further and further. Well, let's see what happens. But we get closer and closer into that hope, into where Jesus is, so that I can be in his presence and I can experience who he is. It enters behind the veil. It's not waiting there. The anchor might be out of sight, but it holds. Sometimes you can't naturally see what God is doing. Praise God. Because if God showed me the picture of everything, that I would have run away, I would have freaked out, I would have been like, hell no, I'm not marrying that guy. Okay, that was my choice, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many other things that I would have said, no, thank you. But I couldn't see. There's so many things that we can't see, and we think that because we cannot see them, that must mean that God is not there. That because we cannot see them, God must not have power. That because we cannot see them, then that means that religion is dead. No. When you need the anchor to hold you steady, you don't want to be able to see that anchor. You want to know that that anchor is down and it's firm and it's secure. That anchor might not eliminate the storm, but it will definitely see you through it. As I close, and I'm going to get my amazing worship team to come up, because then the Spirit will come to the stage. He left a little bit with all the jokes. So come and make it spiritual again. I want to read a story that Spurgeon tells us. There was a man at the rough sea who said, "Captain, we are in great danger, are we not?" As an answer did not come, he said, "Captain, don't you see great fear?" Then the old man gruffly replied, "Yes, I see plenty of fear, but not a bit of danger." What a picture is of us. With so many times we will face fears. Fear of the future, fear of the unknown, fear of what if it doesn't change. There's just so many fears. I could have a whole afternoon sharing with you my fears. If something doesn't change, if my accent is too strong, if they don't get the message, if I do too much, if I do too little, if I say too much, if I say too little, what happened to my kid? What happened to my husband? What if he's gone? What if my kids don't love me tomorrow? What if they marry the wrong person? What if my finances doesn't change? What if I drive and I'm in a car accident? That is my life constantly. There is so many fears. Yet I know that when we speak about Jesus and when my hope is in Jesus, there is no danger. Because God is safe. My encouragement to you as I close this morning is, maybe you love God. Maybe you had hope. Maybe life just got a little bit rough and you're like, okay, well, this anchor just is not holding. Maybe your anchor needs to get a little bit deeper. Some of us have plastic anchors. We know that our Father who are in heaven, of our heart, and then that's as far as we're going with our prayer time. Some of us have a beautiful Bible that hasn't been opened the whole year. Maybe we need our anchor to be a bit heavier. Because the heavier the anchor, the better it holds. So if you are facing the storms of life, don't jump out of the boat. Maybe just look at your anchor this morning. And if your anchor is in Jesus, there might not be a magical moment. There might not be an instant release of the storm that you're going through, but can I encourage you to just hold on to your anchor? Hold on to that promise that it doesn't expire, that it doesn't break under pressure, that it doesn't change, that it doesn't move. The only reason that we share our life's testimony is so that people can understand that when we say things are tough, we mean tough. We mean we've been through the tough. And that's just summing it up because we only have 30 minutes to share together. And we might not understand your pain, and we might not understand what you are facing, and when you go home, what you have to still face. But we do want you to leave this place being encouraged that hope can be reborn. And normally it's only reborn in a season of a storm. But when you're on the other side, you can encourage other people to be like, I have been through that storm, and God was there. I have faced that, and God was there. I have asked those questions, and God was there. His promise of peace didn't expire. I keep on holding on to that anchor. Once again, I want to read this verse. We have this hope. as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. It enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain.